Sangye Chidan Toki Chognama Changchu Padu Dani Kapsuchi Dagi Jinso Dibe Sunanki Dona Penche Sangye Dupasho Sangye Chidan Toki Chonama Changchu Padu Dani Kapsuchi Dagi Jinso Dibe Sunanki Dona Penche Sangye Dupasho Sangye Chidan Soki Chonama Chanchu Badu Dani Tasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sunanki Dona Penche Sangye Dupasho. We go for refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha until we achieve enlightenment. By the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may we achieve a state of perfect awakening in order to liberate all sentient beings from suffering. So with this pure attitude, you see, this is one method of transforming the mind. And there are many methods in the Buddhist teachings. In fact, there is said to be 84,000 different teachings that the Buddha spoke. And all of them were designed to help us achieve awakening. All of them were designed for meditation or reflection, not just to sit on a library shelf somewhere. Not just to get a degree, but to help us to transform our minds, right? From an unawakened state, that's, for most of us, that's where we are now, until a perfectly awakened state, just like a Buddha. So, first of all, we'd like to sort of explain a little bit about the nature of the mind. Okay, so this is a review for some of you who attended the program yesterday, but just to introduce the topic of what do we mean by the mind. Now in English, can everyone understand me? Are people having difficulty understanding the English? It's okay? Okay? Yeah, or concepts. Okay, so in English, the word mind sounds very solid, right? But in Buddhism, it's not solid at all. In fact, the mind is impermanent by nature. It's changing all the time. In fact, consciousness is a better term for what we're talking about, better than mind. Consciousness also has different meanings. In fact, there are 6 different types of consciousness. But the basic definition of the word consciousness is knowing and awareness. Okay, when we're conscious, we're aware. Right? So, let me explain. Okay, now, there are some representations of the mind. We see in the New Age movement quite a lot of artistic. Hey, let's see. Start the slideshow from the beginning. F5. Oh, what would we do without Andrea? Okay, so here we go. Oh, it's impermanent. Wow, the universe is illustrating the talk. Okay, so here's a sort of hippy-dippy New Age portrait of the mind, right? But the Buddhist definition is closer to this. It's a moment-to-moment awareness. So moment to moment, and these moments are very tiny. there is said to be 64 mind moments or mental events in a finger snap. So consciousness is moving very quickly. Our awareness is moving very quickly. So no wonder it's so important to pay attention, right? A slip of one moment of consciousness and we can have an accident driving, or we can slip and fall in the shower, or we can say a harsh word, right? So that's why paying attention is so important, and that's what meditation is all about. Mindfulness is paying attention, basically. So here's another representation of the mind moments, just as individuated mental events. Now, by contrast, the Buddha's awareness is all-knowing. In fact, by the time we get to the Mahayana, it's omniscience. So there's a distinction here we might as well put out on the table. In the Mahayana interpretation, the knowing of an arhat is called all-knowing. An arhat can know all things, but only one at a time, according to the Mahayana, right? Whereas in the Mahayana, they say that a Buddha knows all things at all times. So you see the difference, that now this is a Mahayana interpretation, but they would say that an arhat can know all things. That means all the karma that we've ever done, all the actions, all the words, anybody has ever spoken, but one at a time. Whereas the omniscient awareness of a Buddha is to know all things at all times. Whoa, it's a mind blower, isn't it? So here's again a representation of the Buddha's awakened awareness. Completely open, objective, because the Buddha has gotten rid of all the mental defilements or kleshas, and it is equanimous, not sort of influenced by the ups and downs of life like we are, right? Perfectly aware, perfectly aware. And of course, that leads to a very happy disposition, right? To be not concerned about these emotional ups and downs, not at the mercy of karma and delusions. Now, of course, we know that Buddha Shakyamuni was just one among many Buddhas. Again, when we get to the Mahayana, they talk about infinite Buddhas, including all of us, right? Eventually, they say all of us will become a Buddha. So we'll have Eliza Buddha, and we'll have Therese Buddha, and we'll have Andrew Buddha, and yeah, each one of us will have our own Pure Land, and wow, and then can help to teach the path to the elimination of suffering. So here, for example, is Maitreya Buddha, the future Buddha, and he is sitting down, waiting to spring up into action and, take rebirth on planet Earth or some other planet where humans live, because only as a human being do we have the opportunity, the potential, really. Animals have the potential, but in order to develop that potential to become perfectly awakened, the animals will need to take a human rebirth. So the animals are very cute, and they're very furry and lovely, but unfortunately, they're not so bright. Of course, your dog is different, but in general. Anyway, it's very hard for them to sit in meditation. Sitting cross-legged as a furry doggy is quite difficult. So, now the analogy of the mind in Buddhism is the lotus. The lotus flower is said to grow in the mud. Actually, they say the muck, not just clean mud, but mucky mud, right? Dirty mud. And yet, the lotus blooms completely pure and untouched by the mud. So this lotus is red instead of white. Generally, it's a white lotus. But what it means is that at present our mind is disturbed by emotional afflictions or conflicting emotions. Klesha has many definitions. Defilements is one. And I think actually in English we're quite fortunate because there's a rich variety of vocabulary to describe these different Sanskrit. And maybe if we try all of them, eventually we'll get a clearer idea of what we mean. And of course, it'll probably take us hundreds of years to develop a vocabulary for Buddhism. At the moment, we need to say Buddha because it's easier than saying an awakened one. An awakened one has 5 syllables, whereas Buddha just has 2. So it's easier to use the Sanskrit or the Pali. Now I'm going to switch to the next slide, next PowerPoint, which is about listening to the heart. Okay, listening to the heart with love and compassion. And this is a mindfulness exercise of learning to listen carefully. Now, a lot of times, because we're not mindful, F5? Thank you. Okay, because we're not listening carefully, we often misunderstand each other, don't we? We get into so much trouble this way with our families and our friends and our teachers and our students, and even on the street. We can misunderstand things so carefully because we're not really paying attention. So right now it's very popular to do listening exercises. It's called by various names. Sometimes they call it deep listening. Sometimes they call it mindful listening or respectful listening, attentive listening, compassionate listening, or active listening. So you can attend active listening workshops in North America. Usually they won't mention Buddhism, and usually they'll charge quite a lot of money, about 300 US per day, for learning how to listen. Amazing, isn't it? But the Buddha taught us how to listen or pay attention for free. And I like this tradition, and I like very much the tradition here at Buddha-Dharma Center that people are able to attend without putting a price tag on the Dharma. I like that. So thank you very much to the center and to everyone who helps this wonderful center to grow and thrive. Now I'll leave behind these PowerPoints so everyone can, if you're interested, you can make copies of them and show them to your friends, whatever. Happy to share. And so this exercise is based on the Buddha's teachings on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. When we talk about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the Buddha taught mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind itself, and then mindfulness of other phenomena, or sometimes it's called mental contents, because as we shall learn, the mind can focus on virtually any object, visible or invisible. And on the basis of that, an awareness will arise. So the definition of a phenomenon is an object of mental awareness. In this case, in the case of the 4th foundation of mindfulness. Now, when we do attentive listening or compassionate listening or mindful listening, we generally make some communications agreements. And we'll practice this. If you're up for it, we'll actually practice mindful listening. These communications agreements are useful for any situation. They use them a lot in board meetings, both in nonprofit corporations and in for-profit corporations. Because, well, businesses also are interested in efficiency, and miscommunications are inefficient. If people don't listen to the instructions, then they will make mistakes. Mistakes are costly. So corporations are also interested in this process of having their employees learn mindful listening. So the first one is that one person speaks at a time. The way we do this is to pair off in twos, and one person speaks for 5 minutes while the other person simply listens. And then after 5 minutes, the partners change roles. The listener becomes the speaker becomes the listener. So each one has full 5 minutes to speak uninterruptedly. Okay, so that's the second agreement, is no crosstalk. Our natural inclination is to interject our own ideas in what other people are saying. We like to make sure we've understood what they say, but we also want to express our own views, right? And give our response to what they're saying. Now, in this exercise, we don't do that. We get ourselves completely out of the way and just listen with no crosstalk. Now, the third point is no labels or judgments. This is a difficult one. Our natural human tendency is to label what we're hearing and judge it. Oh, she's wrong. He's deluded. We're often thinking about our own interpretation of what they're saying instead of purely listening to what they have to say. So in this exercise, what we do is to try to avoid making judgments, avoid giving labels to what our partner is saying, right? The fourth one is no interruptions. Even if maybe we weren't quite clear about what the person said, we refrain from interjecting ourself into the conversation. Just let our partner speak with no interruptions. The fifth point is confidentiality. So what's said in the room stays in the room. That's from the movie, what is it? Left in Las Vegas or something? What happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas? Wow. But here we're saying what's said in the room stays in the room. The reason for this is that when we speak from our heart, sometimes we reveal something quite personal. And sometimes people might misunderstand or misinterpret what we said and then spread it around. And that causes a lot of confusion and problems that take months to clean up sometimes. So in this exercise, we just agree not to share what our partner shares with us. Is it okay? Would you like to try it? Okay. I see some nods. So, okay. Now, the topic here, you can pick any topic for this exercise. And I thought that we'd start by building a community. I know that many of you belong to Dharma communities already, and I think that the Dharma community in Hong Kong, like Honolulu, where I'm from, we often go to talks at various centers. So the Dharma community is even, I see people here from the Mindfulness Center and from CVS and so forth. So the Dharma community is wider than just one center, but it's also very good to get to know each other. And so this will be an exercise of introducing yourself. What is your name? Where are you from? How do you normally spend your time? And why are you here today? Okay. So your name, your hometown, I suppose, or where you're from, how you normally spend your time, and why you're here today. Just a simple introduction. So, is it clear? Okay, so please team up with the person next to you. That's easy because then we don't have to move around. But if you don't find a partner, if it's like there's some leftovers, I see 2 and 2, 2 and 2, but then maybe perhaps you and Eliza could get together, and I will signal you when to begin, and when the 5 minutes is up, and you change places. Okay? Are the instructions clear? Very good. Okay, please find a partner. Do we have a gong? Okay, the first partner begins to speak. And introduce yourself to your partner. And the other partner only listens. Now please change roles. The speaker becomes the listener, and the listener becomes the speaker. Okay? Very good. Sounds like you had some pretty lively conversations. Were you able to follow the directions? Pretty well? Good? Good? Yes, so I'd like to ask you how you felt during this process. Was it easy? Was it difficult? What did you notice in the process of mindful listening? Anybody? Yes.
In following the rules, there's no cross-talk. So in the listening process, I have to make a body gesture, like nodding the head or just a simple okay or that means yes, and no other words.
Okay.
So that is a bit unusual from the ordinary conversation.
Right. Okay. Thank you. What else did you notice? Yes.
I have to restrain myself from giving opinions.
Oh.
That's all.
Yeah, good. Okay. Good. What else? Usually. The first is noticing how difficult it is to keep ourselves out of the process, right? To refrain from responding, either in words or gestures. So it's something new. It's something unusual. Good. And also, you said that it was difficult to avoid making judgments. Is that what you said? Comments. Comments. Okay, very good. Yeah, this is quite common. These responses are very understandable because of our habit of generally wanting to, of course, interacting is a good thing, but we also see how difficult it is to listen completely, mindfully to the other person. They often make reference to an exercise we call, sometimes it's called Arab telephone. Have you ever played Arab telephone? Or in Hawaii, we call it coconut wireless. It means that you whisper a secret to someone next to you. That person whispers to the next person. Then that person whispers to the next. And you go around the circle and see what comes out the other end. It's always hysterical and completely different from what started out, right? Which shows that we all interpret what we hear. Interpret and misinterpret, often misinterpret what we hear. So I hope that you'll find this exercise helpful, even if you don't do it formally in this way, though it does take practice. No one masters this exercise in one go. often we need to repeat the exercise again and again until it becomes natural. At the beginning, it doesn't feel natural not to respond. We feel that we must respond in some way by gesture or words. So, but I hope that you'll find it useful in dealing with your children or your parents or your students or your teachers and in the workplace. Check it out. Test it through your own experience, as the Buddha said.
If you're in a situation where someone is very volatile, like someone is very angry, and they're maybe also harming other people through their words or through their actions, is that a time to practice mindful listening? Or is there sometimes occasions where we need to be very vocal, or this is something I struggle with a lot because I want to do this, but then in life I'm always faced with situations where something is happening and I feel to be silent is to allow something very bad to happen, when sometimes we should intervene.
Yeah, good. Okay. Usually, I think we'll find that the very best response to a volatile situation is to listen. Because often, when people get hostile and abusive, one reason is that they don't feel they're being listened to. So we can see this with children, how children act out to try to get our attention. And then when we zoom in on them and listen to them with our full attention, they behave quite beautifully. I mean, check it out again. But I also agree with you that there is a time to speak out. For example, in instances of aggression or oppression, right? And so that's where the wisdom aspect comes in. The Buddhist path is a path of compassion and wisdom. We need both in order to achieve awakening. So they say that compassion and wisdom are like the two wings of a bird. If we have only compassion or only wisdom, we fly in circles. So we need to develop both of them hand in hand in order to reach our goal of awakening. So we'll have to, with this wisdom, learn to assess the situation and see what will be best. I found that often listening is a perfect answer. What's the problem? Please, how can I help you? It's usually better than, what's your problem? Right? Am I right? Yeah. So, oh, how can I help you? Oh, how do you feel in this situation? Get them talking and listen carefully to their point of view, and often that will diffuse the tension. It will diffuse, it's a remedy for the aggression. Check it out. Next, I'd like to ask you to do some meditation practice. Just a short session, but learning to get to know your own mind. What is the true nature of the mind? When we talk about meditation and mindfulness, what are we talking about? Most of us are so busy, especially in modern society, and especially in Hong Kong. People are so busy. How much time do we really sit and look at our own mind? Often we don't even know what we think or believe because we don't have time to look at it. So in this exercise, it's an advanced meditation, but I think it's very helpful. We want to learn to understand the nature of our own mind. So we'll sit quietly after centering on our breathing. We'll focus in on the nature of the mind itself. Okay? So if you will please sit comfortably, whether you're in a chair or sitting on a cushion. Please sit very straight. Check your posture. Make sure your shoulders are level and relaxed. Tuck your chin in just a little bit, which helps to straighten the spine. Hands usually in your lap with the right hand over the left and the thumbs touching to create a kind of circle. But if you feel comfortable with the hands in another position, that's fine. Try to keep your mouth closed. Tongue on the upper palate. Breathing through your nose. With your eyes just slightly open. Not so open that you get distracted, but also not tightly shut so you might fall asleep. Just slightly, so you see sort of hazy vision in front of you, but it keeps us awake to the present moment. First, center your attention by focusing on your breathing. Mindful of the out-breath. Mindful of the in-breath. And everything in between. The whole process of the breath as it flows out and as it flows in. When other thoughts arise, just let them go and come back to your breathing. Now that the mind is settled, turn your attention to the true nature of your own mind. Try to look directly at the mind's true nature, not the thoughts, but the nature of the mind itself. When thoughts arise, just notice them, a thought. But don't follow it. Let it go and come back to the object of your meditation, which is the nature of the mind itself. Slowly open your eyes and try to maintain that kind of mindfulness. Yes, everybody wants to continue meditating. It's a good sign. Very good. So what was your experience of meditating on the true nature of the mind? Was it difficult? Easy? Not so easy? Oh. Would anyone like to share their experience? Some people find it difficult because thoughts continue to interrupt. Well, that's understandable because since beginningless time, our mind has been completely uncontrolled. That's from beginningless time. So, it takes lots of practice to learn to tame the mind, bring it under control. Until now, the mind has been like a wild monkey, leaping from here to there, or sometimes a wild elephant, rushing here and there. And now we try to bring it under control, and the mind rebels. Right? People say, oh, every time I try to meditate, I have pain in my knees, pain in my back. It's terrible. But then when we go to watch a movie or a TV show, we can sit for 2 hours with no problem. No pain in the knees. No pain in the back. What's going on? It shows that when we try to tame the mind sets up some resistance, apparently. So it takes practice. But it's worth the trouble. It's definitely worth the effort. So I think now it's time for a little stretching. Would you like to take a stretch? Okay, so we'll invite Eliza to come and show us a little bit of yoga.
So, what do I mean by your own space? So, stretch out your hand and see if you can hit anybody. If you can, then, well, try and avoid hitting, because you will be hitting that person. So, stretch out your hand and make sure it's like free, like this, okay? Free, both hands. Okay, good. Okay, now this exercise, quite vigorous. It's good for the heart and the lungs. Also good for the shoulders. People of my age and perhaps a little younger, you will think about frozen shoulders. Yeah. Now this one, if you do it every day, I wouldn't guarantee, but it's a very high chance that you can keep away from frozen shoulders. Right? Very simple, but you have to do it 36 times. Magic number. Or 36 times 2, 36 times 3. But 36 times 3 will be a bit tiring. So let's today do just 36. Okay? Now I'll demonstrate it, but I can't use the mic and demonstrate. So I'll put down the microphone and I'll demonstrate. Okay? Okay, all you have to do is very simple. Stand with both feet a little bit apart. Okay? And then slightly raise your heel, a little bit like a couple of centimeters off the floor. And that's it. Stay there. And then do this exercise, okay? Very simple. 1, 2, 3. That's it. 36 times. The trick is, when you relax your hands down, don't hold your hand. Let it just drop to the side of your body, and it hits hard. Quite painful too, but it's good for you because there's a lot of acupressure points here, which are very, very, very useful if you can stimulate this part of your body. So just simply let your hands, boom, drop. And then I will count 36, okay? Don't stop, we'll do it together. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. How does it feel? Good, huh? Seriously, I've been doing it not for a long time, but really, really very good every morning. Okay, so 36 times 1, 36 times 2, or 3. All right, because of time, we just do 36, okay? Now, while we are standing, we'll do something a little bit more gentle, okay? So just hold your shoulders together like this. Okay. Right? And then while holding your shoulders, I'd like you to twist your body, like with the central axis, and twist your body all the way to your left. Twist, 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 twist. It's almost like a screw. You turn all the way and see if you can actually see the back. Hold it there a little while, and then breathe out, and turn the other way. To go in line with what Venerable has taught us this morning, bring your mind to your body. Just know what you're doing, yeah? With your mind, with your body, okay? All right, now, hands on the small of back, both hands. Okay? So I can with both hands, this hand. So it's both hands on the small of back. Feet a little bit more apart. Now, lengthen your spine. So it's like someone is pulling you with a bit of string from top of your head, pulling your spine really long. And then take a deep breath in. And while you breathe out, give yourself a little push and lean backwards and look up to the ceiling while keeping your spine very long. Feel that stretch. Be with that stretch. Take a deep breath and slowly come up. And while you're all up, breathe out. Take a deep breath in again. This time when you breathe out, try to lean forward and down. At the same time, slide your hands along the back, along your buttocks, the back of your thigh, touch the back of your knee, the back of your lower leg, and just relax now until you are at your limit. Doesn't matter where you are, as long as you are just relaxed. And relax your hands now, both hanging, upper body hanging. Just let it loose. Feel that weight hanging from the waist down. Just relax yourself. And very gently twist yourself to the right side and use both hands to hold onto your right leg. Pay attention to your right knee. Keep it straight as much as you can. And now breathe out. And then turn to your left side and use both hands to hold onto your left leg, keeping your left knee straight. Feel that stretch at the back of your knee. And then let loose again, come back to the center. Again, let the upper body and the hands, your arms hang. And now breathe in. While you are breathing in, bring your upper body up, vertebra by vertebra. Slowly, one after another, build up your spine again. And assume the upright position. And eventually your shoulders, eventually your neck vertebra, and eventually your head. When your head is upright, feel the head resting nicely between your shoulders. Really long, really long, really long, like someone is pulling you apart, like long, long, long. And when I count 3, and breathe out and let go of that arm. 1, 2, 3. Great. Let's come back to our cushion. So let us do this side stretching. Okay, both hands on your knees. Okay, both hands on your knees. And now twist yourself like, with the axis in the middle. Twist yourself all the way, and then use the hands to push yourself, give a final push so that you can turn as much as you can, and you almost can see what's going on behind you. And now slowly breathe out. Come back to the center. And then now twist to the other side. Use your hands to give yourself the final push so you're really seeing what's behind you. Feel that twist. And then breathe out. Come back to the center. Okay, this time, no need twisting so much, but just twist almost enough to go to the direction of one knee. So for you, it will be your left knee, okay? So again, hands on your lap, on your knees. Turn until you're facing your left knee. You're facing your left knee, looking towards your left side. Now breathe out and chin down on the chest. Lower your shoulders, like curling your upper spine, curling yourself, almost as if you are touching your forehead onto your thigh, but you're not doing it, just as if you're doing so. So you're stretching and curling up sideways. You can feel the right side of your back stretching. That's good. Stay there for a little while. And now breathe in and stretch yourself up like a little worm waking up. Stretch up. Still facing the left side, but now you're stretching up nice and tall. And then come back, turn around, turn and come back to the center. And relax. We'll do the same thing to the other side, okay? Turn to the right side, facing your right knee. Breathe out, chin on chest. Be with your body. Relax your shoulders down, curl up the upper body until you cannot curl anymore, and just stay there. You can feel the stretch on the left side of your lower back. That's good. Give it a few more seconds. Stretching. And now breathe in like a little worm waking up again. Stretch out your body, lengthening, strong. And up again, still facing your right side. And then now turn to the center. Okay, everybody, hands together above your head. Just as high as possible, like someone is like stretching you, pulling you up, lengthening your spine, very long. Now stay, enjoy that lengthened spine. Wow, it feels so good. Spine long, huh? And keep that spine long, but relax. Now, keep your upper arm as they are, but bend your elbows. So just bend at your elbows. The upper arm is still there, next to your ear. So your hands are touching the back of your neck. Feel that stretch of the upper arm and your shoulder. Keep it there. Stretch a little bit. Allow it to stretch. And take a deep breath. One more, lengthening the spine. And when you breathe out, slowly relax your elbows down. And bring your elbows, your hands slowly to where it wants to go. And just close your eyes and feel your body. Do a very quick body scan. Your head, your shoulders, your neck, your arms, your upper body, your bottom sitting on the cushion or the chair, your thighs, your legs crossing, and your feet. You can all feel them. Thank you.